I just got back from traveling to Europe, basically living in Europe, in France, for about 2.5 years. I lived there, and it was a dream in all the good ways and all the bad ways. And I kind of wanted to compare a little bit what it is to live in France or in Europe, and compare what it is to live in the States, the culture shock, the all those things, and all the good and bad that comes with each place, specifically Europe, because a lot of people that I met, especially Americans that I met while being in Europe, while studying, a lot of people ask me like, wow, well, how did I make it like that long, you know? And I really don't think I would have been there that long if I didn't like it, first, obviously, foremost. And secondly, if I wasn't sure that I could adapt to that lifestyle, to that type of life that you find usually in Europe. Because the culture shock, the first few months when you're living there, is make or break in any case. I've never heard anybody not really make it through that period and still be there or whatever. So I really want to talk about it because I really feel like I could help someone, at least one person, that has any doubt about what they're doing, where they're living, what they're doing with their lives, basically. And to be honest, I do miss Europe. I do miss France a lot, but I really love the States. I really love living around here, and even if it's just for a couple months and whatever, work, whatever, I really like it here. But Europe has like its own little advantages that a lot of people disregard. But you also have to be very sure about what it is that you want, that you like. Because if you're not really sure about what makes you who you are, if like first culture shock there is if you don't have a car or anything and relying on the metro and all the public service, public transport, yeah, that might be that might turn a lot of people off, because like having a car there is very impractical. It just doesn't make sense. Having a bike, I could see it, but having a car sucks there. And obviously every process to get your visa, to get your passport, whatever it is, obviously it's super tedious and it's super not well thought out or super lengthy. It takes a lot sometimes, and that also affects. But man, I don't even know what I could say when it comes to this, because I really thought about what I wanted to say about what it was, the differences and all that. Differences are very much super obvious if you've been there. The differences are that the spaces are really, really tiny. I lived in an apartment that's 1/3 of this apartment, and this apartment, you could consider it small. So you could imagine what it was. My French apartment, and I lived in a nice zone. So I like that, but it could get like super boxy, super claustrophobic, especially if you're the type of person that likes to go out but doesn't really like a lot of people. Like, I would live in my home, like in my apartment. I would be there in the days that it would rain or anything. I wouldn't really go outside. And being there, you get like cabin fever, like times a million, because it was just so tiny. And I was very alone too. And I'm usually a person that is very well at being alone. I'm really good at it, I guess you could say. I have been alone most of my life. I've liked to be alone. I've enjoyed being alone. But in this case, being so far from my family, that's all in this side of the world, that was a challenge for sure. Because I missed them, and I miss my family anytime I'm anywhere. I'll miss my family. But it's very interesting to see how far I kind of took it, not going back home for a year and change until I saw my family again, and then I flew back, and then I didn't see them again for a couple of months. A lot of people, big no-no. For me, big flight, long flight, I don't really like to do it every month or every 2-3 months, so I really take my time with all those big flights, because I'm not the best at flying. But yeah, if you are having problems with being alone and everything, I would recommend you either know someone there, meet someone there. But if, like, for real, the experience there for me is really everybody there was nice. The people that I met from my same background, people were really nice. I went to the American University in Paris, and people were extremely, extremely nice to me. They were very, very cool friends. I met really cool people. I met really cool French people too. But yeah, it's a different sensation there. It's really like it was really a huge life-changing experience for me. I learned so much about where I am and who I am and what I wanted to do with my life, what the type of people that I liked even or didn't like, and it changes you, and very, very much. And there's no way really to explain what it is. It's really only about you. So if you're seeing this video and you're thinking, oh, well, I'm going to live in Europe, or I want to study abroad and I want to get away from my family, or I don't want to get away from my family and I miss my family, but I still want to get away just to see the world and everything. Europe obviously is the closest taste of different world that you could get being from this side of the world, but and ultimately there, it's a very good chance for you to be like, okay, I really like it, so I'm going to keep going. Then you go Asia, or then you go Africa, or Australia, whatever. Or it's a really good chance for you to be like, I don't fucking like it, so I'm gonna go back. So other than that particular change, other than those particular affrontations, it's a change that you can feel in your persona. That loneliness, that independence for yourself and everything. That I would tell you it's a 10 out of 10. Because in Europe, when you feel alone, you feel really alone. And when you're fine with people and everything, it's really, really cool. It's really cool. You could do a lot of things. It's very, very cool. Traveling over there is awesome. You can see pretty much every country that you've ever heard of culturally, from no longer than a 2-hour flight from where you are probably. So that's always good. You know, travel Spain, Italy, France, UK, and then if you really took a taste of that, and then you really want to get into the cool side of Europe, and you do Croatia, you do northern countries like Scandinavian countries, Ireland, and all those countries are awesome too. You could do that. And if not, and you really like Paris or like the city I was in, there's a ton of things to do over there. I mean, you got things that will really take you for a spin into your personality really heavily, especially in Paris, because you can do the touristic shit like the Eiffel Tower and all that, but once you get into the deep ends of the city, then you really realize that what is happening, and you realize like you get to experience the most important city in the world, arguably one of the most. And I'm talking like even still somewhat touristic things that would help you get this sort of feel would be like going to the catacombs, you know, where you have all the bodies and all that, going to the Invalides, like where they have like the memorials for the wars and everything, because obviously it's Paris, so obviously the world wars were huge change in that city. So it's always nice to really soak in all that cultural, that history of that city, and it really changes like your perspective and all that, you know. And you get to meet people that also knew about that, and that had friends, family, grandparents that were directly involved or directly affected by these events and all this stuff. And it's a very, very cool thing, you know. Now, going back to taking it back from Europe to the States. The States is awesome. United States are awesome. And to be honest, there's nothing you can't really see, when I mean naturally, in the States or in Europe that you can't really see in the States, you know, like natural parks, and you know, if you're a mountain guy, if you're a forest guy, or beach, whatever, like you still have really nice things over here that really are not envious at all of what you have in Europe. Because in Europe you do have very beautiful cities. You got Mykonos for the beach, Croatia for the beach, Dubrovnik, I butchered that probably, but Croatia, where they film Game of Thrones, it's also a really awesome city. And you have all these beaches and all these zones and everything. But you also have here a lot of things, you know, a lot of cool stuff here that I really don't think I think it's taking usually not very with face value. It's taking really at face value because everything in Europe is so awesome and everything in the States is kind of like local or whatever. But it's really, really cool, like the city here and everything. And I told a lot of people there, a lot of Americans I met there as well. I told a lot of people, like, dude, you could live your first 20, 30 years on this earth just traveling every state in the US, and you could really see some amazing stuff. Because you got every state has its own thing, and every state has like awesome things, And I really don't share that mind where, dude, but you have to go to Europe to really like take in all the nature and all that, because you can do that in the States easily. You can spend your life traveling from Portland, from Denver, all the way to California, all the way to Florida, all the way to New York, and honestly, it's really, really cool, all the stuff that you can see, and you're still in America, so everybody speaks your language. That's a huge bonus, which was a nice little segue into what was the biggest challenge over there, which was learning French. Learning French is very hard. And if you don't have a second language, I know my mother tongue is Spanish and English as well. Ever since I was a kid, I knew both languages just because. So learning French was not that difficult because French is very similar to Spanish. It's not that similar to English. So if you're only going in with English, good luck, because it's very, very demanding and it's very, very hard. But if you keep your faith in, you keep your head in the books and everything, you can manage. But yeah, it's very, very hard when you get there and nobody speaks your language and you are alone for real, because you're really alone when you have the language barrier and the people are not very, very nice. It's very hard. But yeah, that's very, very cool. That's a cool thing as well about it. Everybody speaks French, so you kind of learn some French. You're there for a couple of months, you get to learn French. Maybe Bradley Cooper it and fucking learn almost kind of nicely French. And if not, then you can manage with just English, but it would be a lot harder. In the first couple of months, it will be a lot harder to adapt. But yeah, the language barrier sucks. So keep in mind that wherever you are, if you go to the UK, probably won't like it as much. UK is very, very beautiful. The UK, I love London. I know what I'm talking about, but the weather in the UK is extremely hard to deal with, and it's kind of the similar weather in Paris. But Paris, you do have a lot more sunny days than you do have in London. Every time I went to London, it was very, very cloudy. It was very, very rainy, and every day there was rainy and cold, and very close to the summer and very cold too. So keep in mind that. But yeah, it's very, very cool. If you don't have the language barrier, then it's nice. And if you want to open the language, you're open to learning the language. It's cool too. So it's a win-win. And I think that pretty much settles it. What I was trying to say, if you're a natural guy, culture guy, if you're a culture guy, you'll love it. If you are a war enthusiast, or you like history, or you like art, or if you like art, Paris is a city. Obviously, Europe is full of it. Every corner there's a exhibition of whatever guy and everything, and they all have extremely interesting pieces, you could say. If you're into fashion, I mean, New York Fashion Week is second to Paris Fashion Week. Probably better than Milan Fashion Week. Milan, don't go to Milan. I won't recommend you Milan. I will recommend you Italy for sure. But anywhere other than Milan or Naples or Naples, what do you call it? Those the big cities. Nah, I would recommend you go to Portofino, maybe Venice if you like that sort of stuff. And the south is nice, like the South Beach in Italy is very, very nice. It's very, very cool. But comparing the two, God, I gotta say they're hand in hand, which is crazy. But it's sort of a hot take, either because people are really on the bar. There are not really a lot of people saying like, oh well, Europe is so much better. There's people that say like that, right? Like Europe is so much better, and people that say, well, the States is so much better, and I can't adapt to both. But I really genuinely feel there's no middle ground. It's all very nice, and you got both things that are extremely cool. So if you're planning to move there, you're planning to live there and everything, in anywhere in Europe, Western Europe, I guess, enjoy it's going to be very, very hard. But if you really like it and you really want to go through with it, it will be very, very rewarding for you. And if you just feel like people are telling you go to Europe, and you went and you didn't really like it, or you're not really called to it, I would tell you travel more in the States, and you'll see a lot. Go to Alaska, and a lot of people don't know Alaska, or don't know like Hawaii, or all those cities that are extremely beautiful. New York is probably my favorite city in the world. I told my girlfriend that New York was basically a Paris where you're allowed to build whatever you want. We're the same kind of popularity, the same kind of importance in history. Paris more obviously, but New York, really nice history and everything. And you can see skylines everywhere and everything. And that's like a Paris, but smaller. Paris is a lot smaller. The buildings don't really go up higher than 6-7 stories usually, and they don't have AC. But yeah. So if you needed a take on anybody's take on what it was, to the differences, and if you're gonna like it or not, if you like change and you're willing to give yourself to an open experience about changing your life and everything, I'll say you like it. I'll say you're fine. And if you're really comfortable in the States, you might get rid of some of that comfort in the car aspects, in the open space aspects, in the walkable lanes, because Paris and all major cities in Europe are obviously more walkable. I used to walk everywhere in Europe, but here it's not that practical. But it is extremely that's subjective, right? Because obviously that comes in handy when you want to walk and everything, but when you've got groceries and all that shit, it's better to have a car. When you go to work, it's very nice to go to work walking every now and then, but then you got those days where, so for work, it's different aspects of all of it. But yeah, I don't have any much more to say about it. This is kind of my way of saying kind of like goodbye to that stage of my life, and welcoming the new stage of my life in my early 20s. No more school, and seeing what life brings. Thank you for watching or listening. Thank you. And now I go to the gym. Now I hate the gym.